The future's not bright. The fuchsia might be orange after eco-campaigners hit Chelsea Flower Show yesterday. 3 Just Stop Oil activists vandalised a show garden at the Chelsea Flower Show. We have names for them. Charity coordinator Stephanie Golder, who's 35, retired landscape engineer Naomi Goddard, who's 58, and disability support worker Rosa Hicks, who's 28, threw orange powder paint from their handbags across the flowers and landscaping of the RBC Bruin Dolphin Garden at the Chelsea Flower Show. Now, of course, this is the same group that's been responsible for the slow marches across London, which we were discussing exactly this time, I think yesterday, yes it was, that we know have cost taxpayers £3.5 million in just 1 month through policing costs and also 11,000 shifts. Here they are in action.
Oh, no. Oh, for God's sake.
No, stop it. Humanity is failing. Everything that you hold dear.
And how did you get here today?
The flower gardens that you love. The artwork
All
that
you're
you
doing is
treasure.
ruining them, you brats.
Buildings that you adore. What is the point in a garden if you can't feed yourself?
Shame on you.
What is the point in tradition if society is collapsing around you?
Rubbish.
These people, they really are utterly convinced. It has become like a faith, isn't it? Now, this latest stunt, which we'll discuss in more detail in a moment, is just one of the many protests carried out by the group across London in the last month. More than 5 weeks now of various stunts and demonstrations. It's responsible for those slow marches across London, which of course delays across the city as people struggle to get to work, get to appointments, whatever it might be. On the show yesterday, I was joined by the Met Police Assistant Commissioner Matt Twist, responsible for policing Just Stop Oil's protests and other protests in the city. He told me he has sympathy with Londoners whose lives are being disrupted.
I know that the public of London are enormously frustrated by some of the actions that we've seen by Just Stop Oil. And of course, the policing role in this can be quite difficult in that there is a right to protest. So if people want to protest, they can do that. But to be very clear, there is no right to cause serious disruption to others. But officers have to get to the scene, they have to arrive, they have to assess and balance those rights, and we're doing that very quickly now. And then, if we think that people are causing serious disruption, which obviously we've seen that they are, we are putting in place conditions under the Public Order Act and making sure that they move.
Listening to that, and I'm grateful coming forward to discuss, Zoe Cohen, who's a spokesperson for Just Stop Oil. Why was the Chelsea Flower Show targeted? Good morning.
Good morning, Nick. Thank you for having me on. I just want to take issue with the previous speaker. Obviously, it was good that they came on the show, but they were saying that the Chelsea Flower Show doesn't take money from the likes of BP and so on, and yet the sponsors of this garden were ultimately the Royal Canadian Bank, the Royal Bank of Canada, who own the company that sponsored it. And the Royal Bank of Canada have got the dubious title of now being the world's biggest fossil fuel fund. So this is the worst, heinous greenwashing ever.
Why did you target the Chelsea Flower Show, though?
Well, one reason is because there's appalling greenwashing is going on at something which is supposed to be, a joyful event talking about growing and flowers, etc. And as a plant lover, a gardener and a grower myself, Nick, it's very, very clear, isn't it? We're carrying on as if nothing is going on here. And the last guy you had on was talking about how the show is supporting recycling. We cannot recycle our way out of this disaster. We are in an existential crisis.
Your colleagues attacked a sustainable garden.
They didn't attack anything, Nick. They put biodegradable cornstarch.
They could be charged with criminal... I'm sorry. So if they face potential charges of criminal damage, I think I can call that an attack. What would you call it?
I would call it a desperate, peaceful plea for help.
Well, that doesn't exist in the statute book, so we'll deal with criminal damage.
Well, I noticed, Nick, that in the clip that you played before you had the previous speaker and myself on, you didn't play the full clip, which towards the end included some people applauding and cheering and saying,
give me a break, please,
no,
Zoe.
seriously,
Come on. The majority of people are absolutely appalled by these stunts.
That's not true.
Don't tell me what's true and what's not true because a few people might have cheered.
Okay,
the reality is expressed by the people shouting for security, by calling your college, I'm sorry to use colleagues, words such as prats, and just asking them to stop. They speak for the majority of people. Please, because a couple of people might have joined in and said, well done, don't delude yourself that you have growing support. The stunts that you are pulling, such as the snooker, the Chelsea Flower Show, the various bridges in London, I'm delighted to say public support is draining away from a very, very relevant cause, and you are putting yourself on a peninsula, and you deserve it. You are at odds with the public. Will you, for the sake of sanity, stop?
We will stop when the government make a statement. We will stop when the government make a statement.
Do you honestly think, Ms. Cohen, do you honestly think Rishi Sunak will think, oh my God, the Chelsea Flower Show has been attacked by orange paint or dye or whatever it is, cornstarch. I must take action today. Are you that deluded?
We're not deluded. We know that unless we cause disruptive action, you guys don't talk about the climate crisis. You don't.
We talk about it all the time. The argument is one. Why disrupt? Why can 3 people choose to disrupt the enjoyment of thousands? I'm glad you laugh. I'm glad you think it's funny. I'm glad you think it's funny because I'm sure the Royal Bank of Canada can afford it. I'm absolutely sure. But the people, the men and women who've toiled many, many hours to put that together, and the people who might like to have seen it, I read that some of it is now permanently damaged. I'm glad you think it's funny because it's people efforts that you've destroyed.
How much did you cover the news last week that the world's leading scientists say that we're going to go past the very dangerous 1.5 degree
No, why don't you answer my question first, respectfully, Ms. Cohen? Why don't you answer my question first? Why can 3 people destroy the enjoyment of thousands? And then I'll answer your question.
Because billions of people are going to be put outside the conditions that are livable in the lifetime of children.
It is like a faith, isn't it? It's like a...
no.
Can I ask you finally...
It's like believing that smoking causes cancer, which it does.
Can I ask you finally, if the courts actually woke up to this, and I know that one of your colleagues, Stephanie Golder, is a repeat offender, would putting these people behind bars stop this, do you imagine, Ms. Cohen?
No, of course it won't.
Oh,
what do you expect people to do when they know what's
Not disrupt the enjoyment of thousands, that's what I expect people to do. Thousands who attend and millions who watch on TV. Sorry, a final word to you.
A final word to you. Have you seen what's happening in Emilia-Romagna in northern Italy at the moment? This is
the flooding. Just to explain to my listeners. Yeah, go ahead.
Absolutely. Tens of thousands of people have been evacuated. I recently met a lovely young woman, an Italian woman, whose family... from that area. She had tears in her eyes when she told me that her family and their whole home are being flooded out and there was nothing she could do about it.
Okay.
What do you think a little bit of biodegradable cornstarch on a garden funded by greenwashing fossil fuel funders is worse than that?
All right.
Do you really think that, Nick?
Well, I think I've made my feelings, but I find it reprehensible that a small group of people can cause such upset to so many thousands. But we've had our discussion. I'm grateful for you coming forward. Thank you, Zoe Cohen.